I've got to start actually.
Okay, we're here with War Machine Lovebirds, Sherry, and Michael. Oh my.
Why did you do that?
Because he said lovebirds.
Oh, okay. I thought we should
Nice.
act like birds. But
They're so sweet. And Sherry's always talking her husband up when he's not around, which
Don't
is
have
awesome.
to.
And so now we're going to talk up War Machine instead.
Yeah,
War Machine
Michael's
Part 2.
second love.
Yes.
Okay, well, hit me.
Distant second. Well, Privateer has spent the last 6 years watching War Machine grow, and so I decided it was time for another go. And some things have come out in the community in the past, and they've always been very responsive to their fan base, and so they decided to change things up a little bit.
Number 1, jacks are actually good now. Go get some jacks. Buy some great-looking models and paint them. They're fantastic.
Warjacks were often considered behind the curve for what they could do compared to their point costs, so they made them cheaper and better and made units more expensive.
And by better, he
So
means
you
they
had-
hit harder. They hit easier. Like, generally, their melee attack and their power goes up a little on
So
all sides.
before you would end up with armies that have a lot of troops in
Most of the time, for a seriously, like,
Competitive event, you would often see infantry machine or solo machine.
you would see no jacks at all, a lot.
Okay.
And considering that in this game, like, the most important thing you can do is control warjacks, like, why else would you have a warcaster? I mean, why not
Right.
just have somebody else?
Like,
So-
the whole game is around that
Yeah,
concept.
and so now they've made it good, and yeah,
Yeah, solos have been toned down a lot.
which is nice, because some of
Yeah.
them were ridiculous, namely, I can't stand
Because I knew that, because, like, we got,
Vilmon
like, a
and
zillion
Iris.
totem hunters coming
Right.
through.
Totem hunters. Those were all really big models that everybody used, but they're not as important anymore, especially now that jacks are also more durable. Previously, they were out when they lost 3 systems, and when you lost a system, that system was gone. Now it's more like hordes in that when you have a crippled system, you just roll 1 less dice when you're using it, and a warjack isn't off the field until it's lost everything. Every
Oh, wow.
single box.
way more
It's like the
mechanics,
Terminator.
way easier to fix warjacks. So if you're in Khador, you don't have to worry about spending 131 points on something that's going to fall over and die in the first 2 turns of the game.
Bearing in mind for our other game system playing viewers that you're playing like a 750 point battle.
And that's
So a 131 point model is a pretty
Be a
big
lot.
But that's
investment.
changed too.
Mm-hmm.
The point system has been cut way down in its granularity to make it more easy to balance things against one another. Now a warjack costs 10 points towards the upper end instead of costing 130 points toward the
a
upper
lot
end.
of jacks cost somewhere between 6 and 8 points. But
6 and 8 points.
yeah, a 500 point game would
Is now a
be a
35
35 point game. It's really easy to add things up. You actually end up
Wait,
with more
I'm
models in
really
your armies.
confused here.
The point system has changed entirely.
Oh, okay. So they made everything cost less points.
Way less. Like, most models
Like
cost
somewhere
somewhere
between a tenth.
Yeah.
Won't that make it harder to kind of finesse things
But you
to
also
where
have
they
easier
cost just the right amount?
benchmarks of what you're trying to hit. We're designing a solo that is 2 points worth instead of what is the difference between a solo that costs 22 points and a solo that costs 27 points. And in my army list, for instance, I ended up with something like 15 points to spare every game because I couldn't manipulate the
Like,
costs.
there's nothing
of-
that costs 15.
Right. Well, and unlike
It did
say
seem a little
Warhammer,
arbitrary.
where you can tweak your list because a guy can have a
can't
2-point
just add
sword or a 6-point
photon
thing.
grenades to my fire warriors to get those last points.
And believe me, that's
Right.
one thing that makes 40K be a very unique game, but War Machine, what makes it unique is the way that you take the models you have and you can kind of replace them. Like, Warjacks don't cost, Warcasters cost no points now, and they come with free points that you can use only to buy Warjacks. Once again, Warjacks up. So by altering your Warcaster, you can take the same army and make it work completely differently.
But there's still no customizability.
No,
You're
and
taking
there
a
never was,
Warcaster,
so
that's
yeah.
what it is.
Yeah, because these are the iconic characters of the Iron Kingdoms, and they're really important people within the military structure of the nation because only a handful of people can control warjacks.
Yeah.
So that's why they're the focus.
Now, isn't there a thing where you can just say your guy's a generic guy? Like, people give their guys, like, a different names and stuff
That's
like
the thing
that.
that's strange is that they don't actually have anything like that.
Sometimes we call our warcasters different names.
But that's not exactly, we just do it for fun.
Yeah.
You can't customize your own characters. You can take your troops and be like, they're like this or whatever. But that's one more reason why, 40K is one thing and War Machine is another.
Right. Well, I didn't mean to go down the list
yeah.
of comparisons.
But that's
here.
definitely something important.
Yeah.
to
Now,
consider.
do they address what's known in some circles as codex creep? Like, I heard it in War Machine over the years. It's been like the new jacks are intrinsically just a little bit more powerful.
There
than the
was
old
no
ones.
reason to take any other warjack in Khador but the Behemoth or Beast 09, and that has changed now. Warjacks.
So they're gonna balance things
Yeah.
out. Do you see that happening as you're testing this?
For instance, the Black 13th Gunmage Strike Force, which was a Signarin character unit, went from having 2 cards of rules for a 3-man unit
And
to
these
just
are like
having one
tiny
unit.
little print.
Oh yeah.
And now it has one card. A lot of the rules have been streamlined so that,
Universalized.
yeah, so that instead of having to write out a whole rule thing, there are some rules that are similar that lots of different models have, and they have a symbol for it on the card.
Stealth is
Okay.
no longer written out as 3 sentences on every card. There's a little symbol that denotes stealth on their character.
Oh,
Same for
wow.
combined melee or combined ranged attack.
The most common things. A lot of units have had their roles changed. Idrian skirmishers, they don't do everything anymore. They do one thing, and that's what they're supposed to do.
Yeah, I'm not going to say that there aren't any downsides. We're really enthusiastic about it, but there are times when I miss some of the more, I guess, unique things about each model.
The Berserker no longer goes Berserk, for instance.
But based on our testing, I think the thing the biggest surprise to me was just how much it still plays like War Machine. It doesn't feel like a different game. It just feels like the rules are more organized, and you can use way more jacks, which, by the way, is really fun.
Especially because now Warjack power attacks no longer have penalties associated with them. It used to be harder to do their special moves, and some of their maneuvers.
Give an example for the.
Let's see. If you wanted to throw somebody with
Which is
your
really
Warjack
fun.
with an open
Okay,
fist,
that's what a power attack is.
Yeah.
Right.
Things
then
like
you
that.
took a -2 penalty on your attack roll, and Warjacks already couldn't hit the broadside of a barn, so
Really low math.
People would just be like, I'm just going to do a basic attack. It's
Yeah,
going to be
it's-
simple. It's going to
but
get the
now
job
there's no
done.
penalties associated with that. They hit easier to start with, and maneuvers like trample, which were suicide before because anything you trampled over that you missed got to hit you and hit you hard in return. Now if you've trampled over something, it can't hit you back, and you have a much better chance of actually trampling it in the first place.
So more options
Yeah.
equals more fun.
You can't lay down a
That's what we
carpet
think.
of cheap infantry anymore and expect a warjack to get bogged down in it. He'll walk all over them, literally.
Wow.
Yeah. So basically,
Now,
it's the
but
same
does that mean that infantry now are nerfed, so to speak?
Well,
like
I
you won't
wrecked one of
see?
your big jacks with my trenchers.
They will still do what they do. It's just they don't do what they do better than everybody else now.
Okay.
They're trying to equalize some of the forces.
There's still infantry that hunt warjacks. The Iron Fang pikemen for Khador, according to the new
I
line
can't
of
get a
sight
jack
rules,
near them.
they can attack over top of each other because the target they're hitting is bigger. So now more of them get to pile in on a warjack and they do more
Wow.
damage.
Yeah. So you
Well, that's
get away from the
interesting.
spearmen.
It's tough, really, to balance a game. Well,
But we think that they've done a pretty good job. We'll probably play some more games.
so
to
how
figure
many
that out.
points are games typically now?
35's the average.
35 points.
is now a 500-point list as it was.
Oh,
What's a
that's
750?
really
750
amazing.
is about 50 points now.
So yeah, it's definitely different than some of the other miniatures games you might know, but it is really fun.
Part of the point cost change, the reason 500 points doesn't come down to just 50 points now is because your Warcaster was previously costed as free, and he's bringing chunks of free points with him to the table.
Right.
So you're spending a large amount of points on things that aren't actually in your list.
Now somebody who currently plays this game, do they need to buy more models?
They might find they want to.
They
For
might
instance,
find they want more jacks,
The Juggernaut was a paperweight if you bought the Khadoran Battle Box.
which is a shame because they were beautiful models.
But now they're 7 points of destruction. So, a lot of models that previously never had a place on the table are coming back. Some of them didn't quite get the love they deserved. Ghosthite Woodsman.
But
They're
there is a
still
way
not
that
good.
you can register to be a beta tester. Yeah. So, it's going to be good.
But,
Okay.
Mark
Oh,
II
we're
Super
almost
Saiyan-
out of time.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mark II's here to stay, and it looks amazing. You can snag the playtest rules for free at fieldtest.privateerpress.com, I believe. And
All right, I'll get the link to the upper
Don't
right
judge
here.
it. Play it first, and then you'll see.
All right, awesome. Thank you. That was perfect.